of Isaiah chapter 53, we read, "For he grew up before him as a tender plant and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or splendor that we should look upon him, nor appearance that we should desire him." Verse 3 and 4, "Despised and rejected by men, a man of pains and knowing sickness, as one from whom the face is hidden, being despised, and we did not consider him. Truly he has borne our sicknesses and carried our pains, yet we reckoned him smitten, stricken by Elohim, afflicted." Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, final day, day 5 of the double Torah portion, Tazria Metzora. This text from Isaiah, according to those who wrote in the Talmud, describes one who is a Metzora. In fact, recognizing that this is a messianic writing, they have concluded, among some, that Messiah was one stricken with Sarat, and that is that he shared in this affliction of Elohim. So this verse passage that we have been reading for years and years and years, we may not have understood exactly what it was referencing. But again, it says, in addition, the sages of the Talmud say that Messiah's epithet is the Metzora of the house of the rabbi of Yehuda the prince. Citing the verse from Yeshayahu 53:4, "In truth, it was our illnesses that he bore and our pains that he carried, but we regarded him as a Metzora." And Metzora is not the word that is used there, but this is their understanding, that he was smitten by God and afflicted. So, again, Talmudic writings from the sages suggest that Yeshua, our Messiah, of course they don't recognize Yeshua, was one who appeared to us as a Metzora. There's also an understanding from the Isaiah chapter 61, and let me flip there real quick. Isaiah 61 and verse number 11. "For as the earth brings forth its bud, and as the garden causes the seed to shoot up, so the Master Yahweh causes righteousness and praise to sprout," or to shoot up, "before all the nations." When you add to that Yirmiyahu chapter 23, verse 5 through 8, you will find that the one who sits on the throne of David is called Yud-He-Vav-He Sidkenu, Yahweh our righteousness, and that one's name is the branch, Samak in Hebrew. The branch being the one that sprouts up from the root of Yeshai, or Jesse. This is spoke again in Jeremiah 33, verses 15 and 16. So the idea of the Messiah for us is one who sprouts, a sprouting forth, one who is a Metzora. So let's combine a few things here. The word Tazria that we used at the beginning on Monday in regards to the woman that is unclean from giving birth, the word means to sow, as in sowing seed, S-O-W. Sowing then is this work that brings about a sprouting. A sowing of seed brings a sprouting of the seeds. And again, the Metzora referring to the Messiah himself. If you put the phrase then, Tazria Metzora, together allegorically, it could suggest to us then the process of sowing the seeds of Messiah or Messianic redemption. Yesterday we talked about the fact as you engage in this process by which you allow yourself to be revealed as having the malady and going through the quarantine, examination processes, and so forth, that you can actually end up building yourself up and growing in your particular walk. When we talk about the seeds of the Messianic redemption, then we're not just talking about individuals, but we're talking about congregations. We're talking about the body of Messiah at large. We're talking about all facets of who we are together as Yeshua's community. In the community, though, we are made up of individuals. We have individual responsibility to grow ourselves, mature ourselves, to become more righteous, to seek after righteousness, walking uprightly, relating righteously with one another and with the world that is around us. But then also in our congregations that we have harmony, that we walk in a sense of Messiah's character and his heart, his purity. So if we're going to see the redemptive process take place, we're talking about the restoration of all things that Shimon Kepha or Simon Peter talked about in Acts chapter 3 and verse 19 and following. There needs to be this restoration of all things, this redemptive order that Yeshua is coming to this earth to bring his kingdom to establish for us. You know, he's not just going to show up in the sky and land on the earth and do the battles that we read about and then snap his fingers and we're all zapped and we're all fixed and so on. There needs to be some effort on our part. Even before Yeshua shows up, we need to be engaged in the actions of redemption, reconciliation, and restoration. The individual who goes outside the camp and is quarantined, when the skin malady is now over and it's evident that my skin is clean, he doesn't just come waltzing back into the camp and say, hey, I'm back. No, he has to be examined. And even after the priest sees that the skin issue has been resolved and therefore the inner issue has been turned from and repentance has taken place, he still puts the man through a process. How many issues have we had where individuals have somewhat wrecked a situation or relationships or caused great harm to a congregation, and they're out and they're gone for a while, and then they show back up and they have a sense of humility about them, and they say, well, you know, I'm sorry the way I acted, only to find out they're going to do it again. And if you bring them back, they'll do it again. If you bring them back, they'll do it again. Unless the inward person is changed, the behavior doesn't change. And so there is this necessary process of 2 live birds, a piece of cedar wood, a tongue of wool that has been dyed red or crimson, hyssop, a clay pot, and spring water. What's going on with all of these elements of a ritual? The 2 birds perhaps can represent chirping birds that can't keep their mouth shut. That's the easy part. In reality, they're probably a little bit more deeply aligned with the house of Yehuda, the Jews, and the house of Israel, that's you and I. And we need to learn to relate together. What's interesting here is then that this piece of cedar, the cedar is Etz Eretz, the tree of the land. It represents the high and haughty mindset as like a cedar tree that grows very tall. But also it suggests that those roots grow very, very deep, and it most firmly fits into the soil so it can endure the storms. This piece of cedar is connected to a piece of wool, the innocence of a lamb, dyed red from that dye that is taken from a worm, that which is lowly and innocent, are tied together. And then hyssop is a scrubby plant with porous branches that places the blood of the Pesach lamb on the doorpost. These are bound together, and they are taken, one bird is taken, and its blood is shed into running spring water in a clay pot. The living bird and the elements are dipped in that. And then they're brought out and the living bird is released. The living bird, one bird gave its life from the house of Judah, the Jews, to cover the house of Israel. That's us. And then we're free now to go and walk rightly and to sing correctly and to live correctly When Yah's healed us and delivered us, and we've dealt with our issues, now it's very important that you and I continue to relate rightly with those that are around us to continue the redemptive process. Thank you for hitting the subscribe button, for liking the videos. Shabbat Shalom to you and your family. We'll see you again next week.